What is up, guys? Tony Picks here with another upload. For this video, I'm going to be doing the full fight card predictions for UFC Fight Night Jacare versus Blachowicz. So here we go. Kicking off the fight card, we got Vanessa Melo squaring off against Tracy Cortez. We've seen Vanessa Melo against Irina Aldana in our last fight. Tracy Cortez coming off the Contender Series. Basically, I see Tracy Cortez controlling this fight everywhere. She's got good wrestling. I think she's going to implement a wrestling game and edge out Vanessa Melo for a unanimous decision. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Ariane Lipski squaring off against Veronica Macedo. Veronica, late replacement for Ariane. I think Ariane is just better everywhere the fight goes here. Veronica Macedo has a pretty good ground game, but so does Lipski. I think she's going to be able to avoid the submissions. And I think the edge here is really Ariane's stand-up. I think she's a lot more technical, a lot more powerful than Veronica Macedo standing up. She just has a lot more tools. I actually can see her possibly hurting Veronica Macedo. Veronica Macedo does have a chance of landing a submission because she does have a good ground game. I just think that's highly unlikely. And she's a late minute replacement. So for this fight, I see Ariane Lipski really edging out Veronica Macedo everywhere the fight is and possibly ending it with a big shot. So I'm going to give Ariane Lipski the KO or TKO win in the first round. And yeah, she's in need of a win also. In the next matchup, we have Douglas Silva de Andrade against Renan Barão. I think Douglas de Silva is really better everywhere the fight goes. We've kind of seen Renan Barão fade after USADA came into play. His chin got rocked last fight against Luke Sanders. Douglas de Silva really has lost against tough fighters. He's lost against Peter Yan, and I'm not sure who his other loss is against, but another tough fighter. But yeah, I really see Douglas de Silva being the better fighter. Not everywhere the fight goes because Renan Barão does have a good jiu-jitsu game. He just tends to get in brawls. And I just think he's going to get rocked in this fight against Douglas Silva. A lot more technical stand-up fighter. He's going to end up clipping Barão and putting him away early. So with that being said, I'm going to give Douglas Silva de Andrade the KO victory in the first round. I'm actually just trying to whiz through this, keep this video under 10 minutes, so there's not going to be a lot of detail in it, but at the end of the video, I'm going to post a picture of what I think are the top 3 people to bet on, or I'll probably just mention it at the end of the video. But yeah, moving on to the next fight, we have Warlley Alves against Randy Brown, one of the more interesting fights on the card. Warlley Alves coming off of a wicked knockout of Sergio Moraes. Randy Brown coming off of a decent win himself, a KO win to Brian Barberena in the third round. Interesting matchup here. Interesting to me because Warlley Alves implemented something new his last fight. He showed the leg kick. We didn't really see that before. And against someone like Randy Brown, if Warlley Alves breaks out that leg kick early, it's really going to be able to stunt Randy Brown's movement. Randy Brown obviously being the rangier fighter. Basically how I see this fight playing out is I see Randy Brown early landing better shots at range, but Warlley Alves wearing on the leg, landing those leg kicks. Midway through the first round, I can see Warlley Alves getting in close to Randy Brown and trying to take the fight to the ground where he's going to have a significant advantage. And then once the fight gets to the ground, Warlley Alves is going to end up submitting Randy Brown. So it's either going to be late in the first or midway through the second. So I'm going to give Warlley Alves the submission victory here. Moving on to the next bout, lightweight matchup between Francisco Trinaldo against Bobby Green. This fight's going to be standing up. Francisco Trinaldo, the better kickboxer out of the two. Bobby Green, the better boxer of the two. Kind of deceiving here because you look at these fighters both coming off of losses, and arguably they both won their last fights. Bobby Green, I personally think he won that fight against Drakkar Klose. Francisco Trinaldo against Alexander Hernandez. One that for me could have easily been a draw, but no one really took that fight or landed significant shots. So yeah, both of these guys are going to be hungry for a win. Bobby Green coming off of a few losses, actually. Francisco Trinaldo, this was his first loss. He was kind of on a bit of a good streak going. Yeah, I see Bobby Green being able to land more significant strikes. I can see Francisco Trinaldo being more technical. Mind you, in my mind, this is a toss-up fight. I'd stay away from it. But in terms of strikes, I see Francisco Trinaldo landing the strikes at range, but Bobby Green getting in close and landing the bigger boxing strikes. and the heavier strikes in the fight, essentially giving him the decision. So I'm going to give Bobby Green the split decision. Ricardo Ramos against Eduardo Garagori. Next matchup, another fight where a fighter has a huge advantage here. So Ricardo Ramos has a significant edge on the ground. Um, Eduardo Garagori came off of a recent fight to like some bum. I forgot who he fought, but he didn't end up finishing the fighter, and the fighter really isn't anything special. 3-round fight. Garagori showed he does have stamina, does have heavy hands too. But I see this fight playing out. Ricardo Ramos coming in, taking Garagori down, landing him in a submission early. So Ricardo Ramos via first round submission. The headline of the prelims: Sergio Moraes against James Krause. Interesting. Moraes just lost to Warley Alves, yet he's fighting higher on the card, and James Krause just knocked out Warley Alves. So pretty interesting the way the UFC schedules the fights. This is a matchup where you look at James Krause's last fight, and if he fights like he did last fight, basically always throwing shots, like never not giving his opponent a minute to rest, neutralizing the takedown, and really picking his opponent apart. If he fights like that and he's kind of ready for the takedown to be there, because James Krause kind of has iffy takedowns, doesn't have the best takedown defense. I think it's something like 48% or something like that, so really not that great at all, but he did show improvements his last fight. Sergio Moraes kind of just throws wild shots standing up. He does have power, mind you, but he's a world-class grappler, so he's going to be looking to take this fight to the ground. So interesting. Interesting in the sense that a lot of people are writing Moraes off, but like, man, if he gets the fight to the ground, it's a wrap. I just think James Krause is making a lot of improvements to his game, and if he fights like he did against Warley, which I assume he's going to do because he had such success with that, if he constantly puts the pressure on Moraes and wears on him, he's going to end up finishing him midway through the second and the third. So I'm going to give a TKO victory here to James Krause in the third round. Moving on to the main card, Marcus Perez versus Wellington Thurman. Pretty even matchup here, but Marcus Perez, I think, has the edge everywhere. Wellington Thurman's still kind of fresh. Either way, I think this fight's going to be a decision split to someone. I think Marcus Perez is going to get the split decision. Not really looking much into this fight. Same with the next fight, Antonio Arroyo versus Andre Muniz. Haven't looked into these fighters much. Going to give Muniz the edge here because he does have more experience. But yeah, not much into that breakdown. Lightweight. Another fight here where it's just like mismatches in my mind. Charles Oliveira versus Jared Gordon. Charles Oliveira's better everywhere the fight goes. I think what's going to happen is fight's going to be standing up, obviously. Charles Oliveira is going to be picking Jared Gordon apart. Jared Gordon's going to look for the takedown and is going to get caught in a submission. Charles Oliveira via first round submission. Moving on to the next fight, Mauricio Rua versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig's just not ready for this fight, man. He's coming off of a decent KO of I forget who it is, some Brazilian guy. I know his nickname's Mamouche. But yeah, Paul Craig coming off of a KO win. Mauricio Rua coming off of a wicked KO win of Tyson Pedro. Man, Mauricio Rua is back, man. Like, the guy's real. He's legit. He can take shots. He still has his chin there, man. I just see him being too good for Paul Craig. I see him catching Paul Craig either early in the first. Really just early in the first, man. Paul Craig has absolutely no stand-up. The guy he fought last fight didn't have either that much stand-up either way, so don't look too much into Paul Craig getting a knockout his last fight, and don't look too much into Mauricio Rua being old and stuff like that. This is a complete mismatch in Brazil. Mauricio Rua, I wouldn't be surprised if Rua gets a win here and that's his goodbye. Fight. Next matchup, lightweight bout between Ronaldo Souza and Jan Blachowicz. Fuck, man. This is a fight where true, like, MMA fans look at Ronaldo Souza and they're like, man, like, I love this guy. He's a legend. But you start to question if he's on his way out. You know what I mean? Like, what happens with great fighters. Jan coming off of that wicked KO of Luke Rockhold. I don't know. It's a weird one to me. Jan Blachowicz has the size on Ronaldo Souza, and he has the ground somewhat to at least know how to defend Ronaldo, because I'm not going to say anyone on the ground is going to be able to contend with Souza on top of them and working their submission because he's world class. But Blachowicz is no stranger to the ground, so that works to his edge. I don't know. What I see here is flashes of Ronaldo Souza versus Chris Weidman when Weidman was kind of picking him apart in the stand up the first 2 rounds. Because I compare Weidman's size kind of to Blachowicz's size. So it's interesting because Ronaldo Souza is going to be I don't know, because he has decent boxing too. This one's weird to me because I know my heart wants Souza, but I know technically Jan Blachowicz has the edge, and this is a better fight for him. And obviously Souza coming off of the loss, you know what I mean, has something to prove coming up too. Really interesting matchup here. So essentially what this comes down to for me is just momentum and trajectory. Blachowicz is on his way possibly to another title defense, if not a title contention fight. Ronaldo Souza kind of doesn't know where he's at in his career, coming off of a loss to Hermanson. You know, prior to that, he was possibly looking at a contender shot, kicked back in the rankings. So, you know, that could do one of two things. It could motivate a fighter, obviously, to want to get back on that horse, or it could completely kind of put a fighter's head out of this game where he's questioning himself throughout the fight camp. So this is interesting. I'm not going to be placing any bets on this, but I think technically and percentage-wise, I'm going to give more confidence in Jan Blachowicz to land superior strikes on Ronaldo Souza. The reason I don't think Blachowicz will finish Souza is because Luke Rockhold keeps his head flat up in the air, and he wasn't clean coming in and out of his wrestling grappling transitions. But I think that if Rockhold had trouble taking down Blachowicz in the second round, Ronaldo Souza is going to have a lot of trouble too. I just think that Souza is more durable. So for my educated prediction, I'm going to give the unanimous decision to Jan Blachowicz. But my actual like prediction that I'm going to predict going to happen, because I am a Souza fan, is I'm going to see Souza getting a takedown at some point in the third round and landing a submission on Blachowicz, and Brazil going crazy for Souza. So those are my prediction, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Peace.